This is Repeat Photography with information gathered from More Trees in the Tropics by Joby Bass. In More Trees in the Tropics, Bass uses repeat photography to study the landscape of specific areas of Honduras. He used photographs taken by Robert West in 1957 during his time in Honduras as the pictures to retake. Bass used the landscape in the photographs and the notes West had taken to locate the place where the pictures were taken. He chose 120 pictures and managed to locate and retake about 2/3 of them in 2001. Bass talks about the pros and cons of this methodology. He states that there are 4 primary weaknesses: scale, compositional bias, site coverage, and hidden time. Hidden time is any change that may have occurred over the time frame in between photographs. The way to overcome this problem is to use other methods to get an idea of any event that may have occurred in the interim time frame. You can't judge a large area by the photograph of a small area. There is no way to know about any land past what is visible in the photograph. The photograph in itself is subject to the bias of the photographer. Even the change of angle drastically changes the photo, like we see here. Bass states that the best way to overcome this is to use as many photographs as is feasible. The photographer of the second set of photos will always be subject to the bias of the first, so if you happen to be the first, make sure to take as many photos as possible. Bass stresses that the most important part of this method is the selection of the photographs to repeat. The sites must be possible to find, which is harder than you may think. One of the problems Bass ran into during his research was that the structures in the image was just like the other local structures at the time, or the structure may not even look the way it did in the photograph anymore. Another problem Bass ran into is the culture of the area in regards to giving directions. He states that the people of Honduras have a tendency to feel pressure to give directions when asked, whether they know the area or not, and would give directions to a place, but maybe not the place you are trying to go. The results of his research show an increase of vegetation, not a decrease like he originally assumed. Please note that this is not an increase of forests, just vegetation. Bass urges the reader to not take researchers' assumptions as facts, as they could very well be wrong. The focus area of this research is important when understanding the results. This was not a study done all across Honduras, rather in the southwest region. Different regions of a country will have different landscapes. Just because something is happening in one part does not mean it is happening in the whole. Just think about America. Stuff that's happening in Mississippi is completely different than stuff that's happening in New York or Montana. You can't judge a part by the whole. The increase of vegetation could be because of 2 things: the creation of national parks and reserves, and the creation and expansion of CODE4, I think. While the parks may not be perfect, they give the people the chance to experience nature and change their mindset to wanting to protect it. Throughout Honduras, there are signs to promote saving the forest, and Bass states that these signs couple what is being taught and reinforced in the school.